Welcome back to the Tavern Between Dimensions, a monthly tabletop RPG podcast. We should now go into our last segment today, which is BYOB, where we create interesting and wacky builds. Chris, I think you have done us the pleasure of bringing us today's build, and from everything I've seen ahead of time, it's going to be epic.
Sure. So, aside from the D&D stuff, I have a couple of hobbies, and one of them is watching pro wrestling. So I love pro wrestling. I think it's ridiculously good fun. I don't take it seriously at all. It's just funny to watch. Mm-hmm. And it's very emotional. It's a soap opera with some very bad fighting in it. Athletic. I love it. It's everything that I'm not, essentially. So my character is a 10th level barbarian grappler. So a cross between bard and barbarian. And I'd like to introduce him like this. Ooh, let me tell you something about that came from the madness, and you gotta get the reach. You get him in a headlock and drag their face through some grit and dirt, brother. So, this character is essentially based on kind of a dual side of things. Out of combat, this character can be a great healer, or utility spells or something like that with the bard. But in combat, they're an up-close and personal tank, probably without weapons. The reason why they don't have weapons is they are grappling and they are shoving people down. So,
amazing.
Run through a normal round for you guys. So, you get rage, as all good barbarians do. And that gives you advantage on all strength checks, which includes grappling. At this point, we've built the character out. The athletics check is plus 13, which is probably more than most pit lords.
Is that expertise from the bard, I guess?
Expertise and all of the stuff that you get as the background for if you're a soldier or something along those lines. Mm-hmm. As well as that, if your barbarian goes elk, totem, they've got extra movement. So even if you grapple someone, you can still move. I think it's 30 feet because your movement's halved, but you still got it. With this level, you've got an extra attack to allow grapple and shove in the same turn, which is really important. So you run up to somebody, you grab them, you're going to grapple them. Like with that kind of strength, you're going to grapple them. It's almost a definite. And then you shove them prone, and you can drag them into something nasty like a fire, or over a cliff edge, or in front of a rogue, so the rogue can just go, sneak damage, see you later. Not only that, but if this, on the way that it tries to attack you, this little goblin, you can use cutting words to give it disadvantage, and you can run a promo going, listen to you little green freak, I've tasted but a meals in your ears.
Is cutting words, will that be a reaction, right?
That's a reaction, yeah. So you do that on their turn when they try and attack you. They're not going to attack anybody else because you've got it grappled and knocked prone.
Yeah.
Rage.
And can you use cutting words on the grapple check that you make, right? Is that possible?
No, so cutting words is against their attack. But if you wanted to, you could always have inspiration to give you. But you've already got advantage on those strength checks anyway from rage. So that grapple check is okay. You should be fine. With a plus 13 and advantage, unless you get 2 natural ones, like 1 in 400 chance, you're fine. Like, it's fine. Rage gets rid of all spellcasting in combat, so that's a con. Mm-hmm. But I've got some notes here about it if you'd like me to run through for you guys, unless you have any base questions.
Absolutely.
It's all about the build. And you named him Irvine the Painmaker Harwood, is that right?
That's right, yeah. So Chris... Goliath,
Chaotic Good Soldier.
It's between 2 of my favorite wrestlers at the moment. Chris Jericho, his real name is Chris Irvine. So Irvine there. And there's a wrestler called Dax Harwood who's been spectacular lately. And the Painmaker is one of Chris Jericho's monikers. So it's kind of between those. So I would always put the first level as Bard, because that way you get your saving throws as Dexterity and Charisma.
Mm-hmm. Useful.
But your main aims to build up are strength and constitution. So ideally you want around 18 strength, 16 constitution, and 14 charisma. Race-wise, I use Goliath for Stone's endurance, powerful build, and natural athlete. Now, powerful build, if somebody casts enlarge on you at the start,
You're huge.
Yeah, you're now 2 sizes bigger than a normal-sized creature, which means that you can just pull them along at normal speed. So you can suddenly, with the elk, you can pull them along at 65 feet, dragging their face. I'm sure we've all seen the boys scene where A-Train... Yeah, imagine that. So, yeah.
So you can grapple a dragon, basically, right?
Absolutely,
You could
in a
suplex
headlock.
the dragon.
From the top rope.
You're like,
A superplex. So yeah, you could. That's the thing. This has so many role-playing possibilities in combat. Like talking about how you headlock it and then you jump up, land on your ass, and you're bulldogging it, shoving it down prone into the mud, and then you're just dragging it through, which I love. But yeah, Goliaths win here for sure, unless you want the extra speed from Leonins, the orcs for aggressive. Warforge, we spoke a little bit about them earlier. You know, the constructive resilience, so they get +1 AC. Is kind of good, but they don't fit a lot of the time. And anything with dark vision is always good. Backgrounds, anything with athletics, so Outlander, Sailor, Soldier. Feats, if you're going to go feats, don't worry about grappling. It's rubbish. It's not very well designed, in my opinion. And everything you can do with that, you can do with shove. Tavern Brawler gives you the ability to smash someone as you're grappling them. It's extra, but it's low damage.
yeah, D4.
Yeah, Sentinel's good because you can then hit them on a reaction if you don't use their cutting words. Unlucky to re-roll those ones, essentially. It's just good.
As an aside, looking at the feats, Tasha's brought out the unarmed fighting style that you can now pick up as a feat.
True.
So with that, you could just be doing like auto damage to things that you happen to be holding.
Yeah.
There's like bonus actions if you're not like once you've raged. Just cracking people's heads together.
Exactly that. So because you can grapple 2 things at once. The grapple is a one-handed action, so you've got one in each hand, and like you said, you just smash their heads together with that.
Awesome.
Perfectly doable.
Now, I like what you've done with this from a mechanical standpoint, because it's not really about the damage. Like you're not really putting out those deeps, but what you're actually doing is debuffing, right, 2 opponents at a time. You're just grabbing them, and they're like. They're restrained, they can't move. You don't have advantage when attacking them, or other people don't have advantage, but they can't move. They're basically gonna have to stay there and not be able to.
If they're pushed prone, you'd be giving advantage out.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. Yeah.
But the
like
ranged guys, they'd have disadvantage because they're prone. So it's 2 and 4.
You can pull them up.
Yeah.
It's like having 2 hold person spells active at any time, right?
It's great crowd
with
control.
Your hands.
I've played it by a cliff edge, and in the same round, I've managed to throw 2 separate people off the cliff edge because one attack, move, dunk. What next attack, move, dunk? Because you're releasing, it's a free action. It's not. So there's plenty of that.
If you're fighting goblins or gnomes, like your DM should just let you just chuck them off the cliff. Really,
Of course.
If you've grappled them, they're off.
And if you're being really mean and you play an Arakoa, you just drop them from a height.
Really, really cool.
If you're starting with Barb, where do you how
Next
do you
5
get to level 10?
So I would go next 5 levels Barbarian, so you get that extra attack as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And then finish off with the Bard stuff, just to get those increases in the cutting words or the Bardic inspirations, depending on what you want. And don't forget that there's plenty here. So from the character sheet I made, in terms of spells, I used Light, Mage Hand, Prestidigitation, Cure Wounds, Detect Magic, Healing Word, Identify, Speak with Animals, Be Sense, Enlarge, Reduce, and Lesser Restoration.
Right.
So the idea is you have real utility here, in and out
Outside of
of
combat.
there.
Yeah. You can use all your spells, just do all that cool RP stuff with the spells, and then in combat you just rage, and there you go.
Absolutely, and it's just good fun. You know, I specifically didn't give this character like any kind of battle axe or battles or, long sword or great sword or any kind of thing that you would expect to see on a barbarian. They've got some javelins if they really want them, but honestly, like with that amount of movement, if they really wanted to, sprint across. Have some fun. That's always the best way to do it.
All you need is lycra and some fancy sunglasses. That's
yeah, man.
Yeah,
like
magic items right there.
Get a Bret Hart persona going with some black curly hair and some neon pink leotard, and you're away. It really is based off of that. It's based off of these guys who are charismatic. Regardless of what anyone says, The Rock makes the most money in Hollywood, right? Like, he's done it.
Yeah.
And these guys, they know what they're doing. They know how to work a crowd. They know how to get it on. And they know, they know what to do. And they have a good party afterwards as well, right?
Yeah. If you're playing Irvine Harwood in a campaign, like, what is their goal? What is their motivation? Like, why do they join the party?
Perfect.
You got thought on that?
So Irvine was the Goliath champion of the world, and he thought it was the best thing until he heard about loxodons, ogres, and these other giant creatures, and he was like, "Oh,
let's fight them.
I'm gonna have to go on a tour, brother." And he essentially wants to have his name in as many annals as possible. And how does he do that? Well, he wrestles a fucking dragon.
Yeah.
And he's heard tale of this 5-headed dragon. Irvine wants to wrestle Tiamat. That's the end goal. Smashing Tiamat's heads together.
Trying to get one head under each limb, like tooth under the knees and under the arms. Come on, brother!
Yeah, I can imagine him doing an elbow drop off a cliff face onto the back of Tiamat or something ridiculous like that.
Imagine if it's not Vecna, it's like, if it's not Tiamat, or it's like Vecna, and you're just, wrestling this archmage or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that people there's things like, there's always a way to break a build if you know about it beforehand, right? So there's always a misty step, or, they could coat themselves in oil or something like that to help them out of the grapple. But this whole point is that you are there, and this is what I've been saying throughout, and I don't know if this is me as a DM. It's priming your enemies to make sure that the rest of your crew feel good. Because even a level 1 rogue, if someone's gone, "Come on, stab him," you'll be able to do some big damage there right at the start.
Yeah.
And it's about presenting that over to people and allowing them to have the fun with it.
Yeah, support barbarian. That's the role.
Yeah, like support tank barbarian for sure, definitely.
You open the can, throw it, and then things happen.
Yeah, it's just fun. I don't know long-term campaign because it is pretty limited in the scope. But I'm sure that, if you gave him a long sword or you sent him out on a quest, he'd be the guy who, as he went through later levels, you can get these speech abilities with Bard where you're ramping up your party. There's a lot of opportunity there for fun. And it would be more about, because your opportunities are limited, looking around the environment. So if Dan told me there was a tree with a hole in, you can bet your ass I'm going to be head blocking someone, taking them over to that tree and trying to shove their head into that tree to keep them there for the moment. And that's the kind of thing that I would want to be doing with it. I would want to be as creative as possible, and I've given myself the framework to do that.
Like forcing the DM to kind of think about, especially in combats, like think about stuff like this. I've spoken about making encounters more exciting, entertaining, but just thinking, is there anything I can introduce to this scenario that will basically act as a turnstile?
Do you have to put a wall of force around this barbarian or something like that to hold him? Do you have to charm the barbarian first? Is this a grog situation where Matt Mercer specifically, the characters see the biggest thing on the battlefield and they go for him? Because certainly he's going to have a mullet, he's going to have a bare chest, there's no doubt that he's going to be primed with a big white smile and reminds me of Goliath Mania 22, brother. So the
I feel like the party should lock him up in like a resistance sphere with an opponent and just let them wrestle it out. And then
Yeah.
like,
and like, of course, what does he do in the downtime? Well, he goes to the fighting pits and wrestles people. There's no chill. This is his one aim. He wants the fame and glory.
I look at this character and I feel like if I were to play it, I would really want to push the DM to run Storm King's Thunder, just to pit this flamboyantly dressed Goliath up against the best that giant kind can muster. And off the weirdness of falling damage, I would 100% leap off one of the flying castles with someone in a headlock to do a drop from space and then go 20d6 falling damage max halved because I'm raging. Okay then. It's like crash to earth like a meteor.
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities there, and there's a lot of fun to have with it, and all it takes really is watching 2 hours of wrestling to get an idea of doing stupid stuff. I was watching an indie show the other week, and from a second, they had a wrestling ring at the bottom of the mall. And from the second level, a guy jumped off onto somebody in the ring, like 3 people. And I'm like, yeah, he'd do that. Like, there's no doubt about it. He'd take them all out with him. Like, just stupid stuff like that. You would just get ideas for it instantly.
I like how you've taken a hobby of yours and created a character out of it. That's really cool. I don't know if Dan, Carl, you've ever done similar, whether you've taken maybe not a hobby, but maybe something you like and integrated that with your characters. Has that ever happened? I don't think I have.
I mean,
but I wish I did.
My dwarf barbarian for Prince of the Apocalypse, Algrim, he was designed as like an experiment to see if I could create a Warhammer fantasy dwarf slayer using D&D rules. Like dual wielding, bit gruff, like peculiar background. So in a sense, that was taking something that I found fun in from outside of the D&D stratosphere.
Carl, what about you?
Not particularly. Not that I can immediately think of.
Gotcha.
But I am already looking. Dan?
You one day you turned up and went, Brian Blessed. Let's make him a sky pirate.
Brian Blessed a hobby? I'd like to.
No, it's not a hobby. I mean,
regardless.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. No, okay. You're talking about gross worth, but that came from multiple. Oddly enough, that really would probably take us back to an earlier topic instead about repeating characters, because gross worth's turned up a few times. But yeah, I'm looking at this grappler build. And I have had a character where I was trying to sort of emulate sort of Jackie Chan sort of style of fighting for like the drunken monk, and it didn't work.
Okay.
But I'm now looking at this, like the ability to grapple and move people. It's again a very Jackie Chan thing to do, like the shirt over the head to move and push them and redirect them.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see this build
you
also
can steal the build.
I can steal the build and change it slightly. It's
with some monk stuff, I could see that for sure.
Yeah,
like maybe a couple of levels, low level even into monk, and suddenly the problem is there, where are you going to add the flurry of blows because the bonus action? But actually on the second round, if you were still raging, then add it in, and you could do it where you've got them in the head and your foot literally comes up and starts tapping them underneath the face, that kind of thing. Yeah, there's all kinds of things you could do.
I mean, when I think barbarian monk, then I'm just getting real strong Ip Man vibes.
Oh yeah, a bit of Wing Chun, Donnie Yen,
pushes someone to the ground and then.
Yeah, for sure. Just think of like a pop culture icon, like say What We Do in the Shadows. Have you guys seen that? With so Matt Berry's Laszlo, right? Like you could easily turn that and do his voice or something. Like I say, get your hands off my wife's ample bosom or I'll have to duel you. Something ridiculous like that. Could easily be brought into D&D. Dampier, talking about Ravenloft earlier. He could be in that.
Like real life characters real life persons that could become characters.
Yeah, absolutely. Larger than life characters always fit well into D&D. And what's more larger than life than the likes of Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, The Rock, you know, these huge personalities.
I want to play Korg as a character from Avengers, not Avengers. What was it called? Thor.
Thor films. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to find. I'm gonna play a Korg character at some point if I can nail the accent.
Yeah, man.
Oh, well, that bell means it's last orders, and the tavern will soon be closing. I will be going off to make another fortitude save, but before I do, Chris, where can people find you?
Yeah, sure. So once again, RollDark.co.uk. There's a contact us link on there, and the open games are on there. We have a Discord server as well, which I'll pass the link over to these guys to link to. Very active community. More than welcome to join us.
And the usual, you guys, where can they find you? Anton.
So I can be found on Twitter at TBD_Anton, where I sometimes post things on the Twitter.
He's getting better. He's getting better.
It's getting there.
And Dan.
So, you can find me on Twitter at DMDanT. You can find me on Instagram at DMDMT. You can find us at the Explorers of Elsewhere YouTube channel. And as of the time of the release of this episode, you can now find us at the Explorers of Elsewhere specific Twitter.
And you can find me at Group Stormbear. That's GROOP Stormbear. And you can follow us here at the tavern at Tavern Between. Well, Chris, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you in the tavern today.
Just for coming along.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No, thank you guys for having me.
And you're always welcome back at any time. Well, with that, we are now shutting the tavern. I believe the key has finally been found, so the people will be funneling out. Be respectful to our neighbours as you go, and we shall see you guys next time.
Yeah, mind the Goliath wrestler outside. They're getting a bit angsty.
That's a fight, brother! Drink!
Catch you later, everyone.
Take
See
care.
ya.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. Release segments like this from the Tavern Between Dimensions every Friday here on the Explorers of Elsewhere channel. Otherwise, if you want to listen to the episode in full, you can check us out on Spotify and Amazon Music.